Hi, my name is Christopher and welcome back to my channel. The other day I watched a video by Megan from Megan Right Now, and she did the Hello World AuthorTube tag, which actually was a lot of fun. So I decided I wanted to get into the fun because, well, who doesn't like playing tag, right? The last time I played tag was 3 years ago at the center of Delft because, some of my friends have ADHD too. This tag was originally created by Megan Tennant over at Cloud Kitten Chronicles. I'll leave both videos in the description box below. This tag has 10 questions. First question is, what genre and what age group do you write in? Well, I write for a couple of genres. I write fantasy, I write sci-fi, I write mostly young adult right now. And there's also some contemporary fiction. What age group I'm writing for depends on the project. I write anything really from young adult to adult fiction. My current work in progress is a young adult fantasy novel with LGBT themes. It's basically a coming of age story. Target audience is late teens, early 20s. We'll see where that exactly settles after I've actually drafted it. The second question is, what stage of the writing journey are you in and how long have you been writing for? Right now I am drafting my first novel. For this I had another manuscript that I was working on, a science fiction piece that I am currently putting on hold. I feel that the story is too big and too complicated, that I just don't have enough skill right now to write it. So I'm putting that one aside, I'm doing this young adult novel first. And how long have I been writing for? Well, I have been writing for basically as long as I can remember. It's really a family trait, we're all storytellers. So my grandfather did it, my father does it, I do it, and I also have a nephew who also apparently has the trait to want to tell stories and get them out. And even as a child you could see that I was really a storyteller, because where other kids would play make-believe, like playing house or something like that, I always made up these huge worlds with make-believe characters and excessive backstories to the game we were playing, which one of my friends is watching, you probably know what I'm talking about. So I always was a storyteller, and when I got older, naturally I started to write, and I started to just write it down. So when I was little, I was always carrying around this little notebook with a pen. I have known all my life that I wanted to be an author. It's just that sometimes I get sidetracked by other things in life, other opportunities that I want to pursue, because, my life is not just writing, it's a life. Question number 3 on the list is, what is your current work in progress? I already touched upon this subject a little bit earlier. So it's a fantasy novel, it's young adult, it is the first in a trilogy. Actually, this is a fun story because my girlfriend, we based the whole story actually on a dream she had. She had this one dream of this one scene that is going to be in the story, and it just spun up this wonderful world, and we started talking about it, and we just decided that, hey, this is too good to actually not use. So we started drafting the story together as a whole, and I actually saw pretty early in the process that this whole story wasn't going to fit in one book. We were going to need more books. I don't like doing a book and a sequel because I just think it's a little clunky when it comes to structure. Where do you cut off the one book and start into the next one? It's kind of like two-parter movies, they just don't work. So early on in the process I sort of thought okay, this needs to be a trilogy, obviously. So we collaborate on the story and the world building, but I do the writing. I have a little summary for you. I'm going to read it from the paper because my focus is all over the place today and I just can't get it into one take, so here we go. The story follows Nayland, the youngest child of the mayor of a large town at the border, who is sent into the no man's land to track down and kill a witch who is posing a threat to the whole area. Armed with a secret magic weapon, Nayland finds the witch and much more. Question number 4 is traditional, indie, or unsure? Well, I am very firmly in the indie camp, but this is mostly because I like to have full creative control over my own work. The science fiction series that I was talking about earlier has some things that I just really want to keep in my own control. I don't want to sign the rights away, I just want to fully own this story. And since I am planning on doing that one as an indie author, I also want to do the other stories as an indie author. Question number 5 is, why did you want to join AuthorTube? Well, it's really for my friends. because I talk a lot about writing and story structure, and I'm really boring them with them. And then I realized there is people out there who actually like watching writing videos, so I might as well try that. The second reason that I want to join AuthorTube is because I like to be more consistent with spending time on writing, and I feel that deadlines and having an audience is really going to help me to develop more of a habit. And the last one is a very personal one actually. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for me in 2 to 3 years to watch back all the old videos and look back on how much I changed. Question number 6 is, are there any YouTube channels that inspired you? And if so, which ones? There is not really one or two or like a set of channels that have inspired me to join. It's more that I watch a lot of AuthorTube and I watch them with my girlfriend. We both like to watch videos about writing, and what we often do is we watch one and then we discuss what we think about it. And as we were doing this more often, I noticed that I actually bring a very different point of view than a lot of the channels that I'm watching. And I will touch upon this a little bit later in the video, but it also has to do with the fact that I am not neurotypical. I have ADHD and dyslexia. A lot of the things don't apply to me. Apart from the writing community and AuthorTube, the other community that has been very inspirational for me is the trans community, because there's just a lot of very nice people there who share their experiences, and that sort of made me want to do the same thing, and it gave me the courage to actually get up and do something. Because I seriously considered joining after transitioning instead of before. And right now I'm actually kinda glad I didn't, so thank you, trans community. If you want to know what kind of channels I personally follow, I'm gonna leave a list of channels down below of the ones that I think are the most resourceful and the nicest ones, really. Question number 7 is, how long have you been watching AuthorTube? As many other writers who went to YouTube, the first videos that I saw were by Jenna Moresi. I think it was around the time she launched Eat the Awakening. And she was sort of the doorway for me into AuthorTube, and hey, there's more people doing stuff like this. I started watching more analysis videos about why stories work, why they don't work, what kind of structure there is, stuff like that. So that's actually how I got acquainted with AuthorTube. Question number 8, is there anything special or unique you hope to bring to YouTube? What I hope to bring to YouTube, and especially to AuthorTube and BookTube, is a little bit of diversity. Most people who are on AuthorTube and BookTube are women. And don't get me wrong, I really like to watch all of you, but I do sort of miss like a little bit of diversity actually. And I never thought I would be able to say this, but being a guy actually is adding to diversity on AuthorTube and BookTube. So yeah, here I am. And then on top of that, I'm trans, and I also am not neurotypical because I have ADHD and I have dyslexia. So being a dyslexic writer is already something in itself, really, because I am never ever going to give any advice on spelling or grammar, because that's what I hire an editor for. Just know your weaknesses. Now the 2 things that I want to touch up on a little bit longer is, first of all, the ADHD, because I have watched a lot of especially productivity videos, and those are made by neurotypical people for neurotypical people. But my brain works very differently, so something that works for someone else is not easily implemented in my day, while something that won't help ever for somebody who is neurotypical usually works pretty good for me. So, and especially with writing advice, I have felt like a really bad writer in the past because I don't pump out 5,000 words a day. Like, I'm lucky if I write like 200-300 a day. I don't just sit down and write. That's a foreign concept to me. There goes more work into it. And I felt really bad because I felt like I was not good enough, or that I wasn't a real writer if I just didn't write. And I think that I can help other people that have the same problem know that it's okay if you're not neurotypical, or if something doesn't work for you. It's okay. And the second point that I want to touch upon is me being transgender gives me very unique insight in characters, because I have lived life both as male and female. So I know what it's like to, like, when I'm writing a female character, I know how women are treated firsthand, which gives me a huge advantage over any cis guy who is writing, because they have to listen to other people, they have to do their research, they are prone to falling into stereotypes or to use a lot of cliches. I think I'm a little bit less likely to. And also, being transgender, I'm part of a minority. And minority characters are usually very hard to write, but I feel like I have a little bit more sensitivity to the issues and how to go about it. For example, if I would write another minority character that is not trans, say I would write in a Asian character in one of my stories. I know better than to just run to the stereotypes and sort of like, you know, make them better, or just go to TV tropes or something and just, you know, click on it and go like, oh hey, this is the list of stereotypes, I'm just gonna avert all of them. I would probably just go talk to an Asian person and then another one and another one and another one and see what their issues are, because that is what makes a good minority character, not just, you know, tropes. And I feel like a lot of writers are doing that, or at least when I'm looking at trans characters, I feel like most writers have either talked to only one trans person, or they have even never in their lives talked to somebody who's trans. So yeah, I feel like I can add to that. Question number 9. What inspired you to start writing? Well, I can be very short on this one. I want to get my story out. That's why I'm writing. Wish I had more to tell you, but that's just it. And the last question on the list is, what is your favorite piece of writing advice? This was actually for me the hardest question, because when I think of good writing advice, all I think of is all the writing advice that is very popular, that everybody is preaching, that just doesn't work for me. And I really had to dig deep to find like a piece of writing advice that was like, yeah, that's actually good advice, and I think that is fairly universal. But I did find one, and my favorite writing advice is, even if you feel like it's crappy, write that first draft. Because a first draft, once you have something on paper, it's easier to edit than to just make words appear out of thin air. So don't be afraid to write a story that goes like, and then he did this, and then he did this, and then he did this. I mean, I have written fan fiction that in the first draft was literally, he picked up the chair and he put it there, he leaned forward on the chair, he leaned backward, he put up the chair and he put it there. Like, this is literally something that happened in my first draft of fan fiction, and it was horrible. But I did manage to fix it, and when I was done fixing it, it was actually a decent piece. I was actually happy with it at the time. So that were the 10 questions from the list. This is a tag, so I'm going to tag other people. I have them right here. The first one is Andrew White. The second one is Alexander J. Cohen, Kate from Kate Talks, and Joey Paul. And if you want to do this tag and you just started YouTubing and I just haven't found you yet, you're free to do it too. If you do, please leave your link to your video down below, because I would love to see it. Now, for the people that I tagged, I know that some of you have been part of YouTube for a little bit longer, and I also know that some of you did a very similar tag very recently. But I felt like this was a fun way to tag, really. It's fun questions. I had a lot of fun watching it from other people. I had a lot of fun making this video. And, you know, who doesn't like a shout out, right? So, hope you're taking it. And if you're watching this video and you're like, who are these people that you're talking about? I will leave the links to their channels in the description box down below. My question for you today is, what do you like most about the AuthorTube community? If you liked the video, please hit a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. It's somewhere down there. I think it's there. I post new videos on Wednesdays. Yeah, that's it. Done. Absolutely done. Right now I'm writing the first... I just